this past Sunday just gone by, and one of the booths was handing out free loaves of bread. Some of the people started throwing it on stage. Singer Steve Harwell didn't like that and launched into a profanity-laden tirade that was caught on video. The people that were throwing the bread, he invited them on stage so he could, quote, beat the F out of them. And then he went into the crowd looking for the punk-ass B word. He was stopped by security. Why were they throwing bread at the guy from Smash Mouth? Well, it's food festival, so loaves were being given away for free at one of the vendor booths. That is a horrific waste of food. That's a terrible thing to do. Hilarious, but terrible. The whole time this was going on, the rest of the band kept playing the opening riff to All Star over and over again. Eventually, the crowd started singing it. Steve finally joined in on the chorus. He wasn't done ranting, though. At an interlude a couple of minutes later, he continued cussing out the bread thrower, saying he deserves respect. And this brings back memories of my childhood and being a guy in a band on tour with him. He had a huge hit, and we were on tour with them and that band Third Eye Blind. And Third Eye Blind had a huge hit as well, a bunch of huge hits. And there's some people with a need to be heard. Some people that, for whatever reason, need respect. And they can get it. And they can get respect. And they can get respect and adulation. And they can get approval, respect, adulation, all of the above, more than any of us will get in the rest of the world, as lead singers of bands with hits do. Crowds screaming their names, adoring fans, especially back in the day. It's not enough. Not enough. Always need more. I remember one instance where there was they played first and then Third Eye Blind played. And Steve got tanked and got on stage in the middle of Third Eye Blind set and just sat there in the middle of the stage on this couch that they had set up as part of their backdrop. And he was like, oh, it's the singer from Smash Mouth on stage in the middle of my show. And he was like, hey, man, I've got a hit too. I'll be walking on the sun. It's that need. It's that need for attention and adulation and adoration that is just, God. It was funny. I remember watching it, and I was just, taking my first rickety steps into the world of show business at the time, and I was like, ooh, note to self, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I can't play it to you because it's got the curse words in it, but if you go watch the video online, the best part is at 1:30 in the first video you're probably going to find when someone in the crowd yells, kick his ass, Seabass, which, in case you did not know, is a classic line from Dumb and Dumber. For what it's worth, though, this was supposedly a kid-friendly event, and the crowd seemed liquored up and fairly feisty themselves, so, yeah. Oh, God. The dudes in Atlas Genius were there, too. They played. And the bread tossing happened during their set. Atlas Genius's set. It wasn't just Smash Mouth who got the bread thrown at him. Atlas Genius kind of played it off a little better, though. They were cool with it. They made jokes about being gluten intolerant. So could you please stop? Oh, man. So a guy tried to avoid paying for his baby by sending a lookalike to his paternity test. You hear about this? This could make for the greatest episode of Maury ever. 25-year-old guy called Thomas Kenny in England. He was in a relationship back in December of 2012, but he cheated on his girlfriend and got another woman pregnant. Then he refused to admit it was his. So she went to court and got a judge to order a paternity test in June of 2013. Look, I don't care what the circumstances are under which you had a child. The idea that you could want to disavow being this kid's parent, remove yourself from the kid's life, the idea that you wouldn't want to be involved, that you wouldn't want to be responsible, the idea that you wouldn't want to be a part of the kid's life, and you wouldn't want to prove that you cared by taking financial responsibility for your child, is so far beyond me. Now, is all child support fair? Probably not, but that's not what this is about. This is wanting to get out of any sort of responsibility or connection to the fruit of your loins, this thing that's walking around the earth, that's part of you. Wanting to get out of it. It's crazy. And this is what he did to get out of it. When the baby mama went to court and got a judge to order a paternity test in June of 2013, this guy Thomas had a plan. When it was time to go to the clinic, he found a guy who looked like him and talked that guy into going and giving a DNA sample instead. And his plan even worked for a while. Well, it turned out you are not the father. The woman finally figured it out, though, last summer and went to the cops. He was arrested and he was in court last week. He was found guilty of conspiracy to defraud. He got 6 months in jail, which will be suspended as long as he pays his child support, plus about $2,200 in fines and court costs. And this to me is amazing. This to me is incredible. This to me is sad. That you could have a child, the joy of a child. I have friends that tried so long and so hard to conceive. Some of them managed to do it, others not so much. But their child is their single greatest joy in life. They would have crawled over barbed glass and broken bottles, and barbed wire and broken glass, and just things that were sharp and hurt you. They would have crawled all over them in order to have a kid. They would have given anything to have a child. And then you have people that completely disavow any existence of a piece of you running around in the world. You know, there was a crime drop. There was a crime drop in the early 90s. You familiar with this? There was burning, looting, raping, and shooting in America in the years running up to that. And there was a huge crime drop in the early 90s. Now, a lot of people took credit for it. A lot of people said, oh, it's because of advanced police tactics. It's because of locking people up longer. It's because of more cops on the street. What it actually was, well, the early 90s, that was about 15, 16, 17 years after abortion became legal in America, where unwanted children stopped being born at a rate that they were being born previous to that. And it was very interesting. And this is not a pro-life, pro-choice argument here. It's pointing out the very interesting statistic that with the number of unwanted children in the world decreasing, so did the number of people committing crimes. If a child is unwanted, it's going to be that much more likely, or she's going to be that much more likely to live a life that winds up leading them to a path of crime and prison. You should want your kids, and you should wait till you want them to have them. And if you want to contribute to the overall good of the world and lessen things like crime in the world, just bag it. Or better yet, chop your own nuts off because you're an idiot that doesn't deserve to be allowed to reproduce. Did I just make an argument for eugenics? I think I did.